Hey, I'm here today with our lovely Robert Foertsch. Robert Foertsch, I hope that you're well. Robert, where we are right now is exactly what you've been talking about for rather a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, how's your programming going and the lockdown
Yeah,
of the
it's
minds
you know
of humanity?
we thought we were watching it on the television, but now it's virtual reality.
Yeah, well, and what I've been taking the opportunity to do here is to expand my research library, which is I've got two playlists that have had many occurrences out there in the internet. And before December 5th, when I liked a video, it was actually shared tens of millions of times. Well, Google didn't want competition with their algorithms, which my playlist circumvented. So that large compilation of 5,000 videos that would go out there in many, like I said, tens of millions of occurrences, what they did is they made everybody's liked videos playlist private. And I still have all the videos. It's just that they
Do you
unplugged
know
all the.
something, Robert? Robert, I think what you're trying to say is that they've been getting this into place because another thing I noticed was we've just started a new financial year. Isn't that amazing? We're all on lockdown and it's a new financial year. And YouTube have been doing things. There's just, you can't use your credit card for gambling anymore. There's loads of things which have been set up for the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's going to be a reset, and a it's a mind control psychological operation that makes anything else pale in comparison to what's going on. Some of the more recent videos that I added, uh, one of the videos is called Out of the Shadows, and it's about a rather well-known Hollywood stuntman that worked in a lot of large movie studios, and he wanted to find out the truth about, well, was Hollywood really run by pedophiles? And the answer is yes. And is Hollywood casting a spell on humanity? The answer is absolutely yes. And it was infiltrated by the
Yeah, because
Central Intelligence.
it's another form of controlling us. We just don't realise there's the news, there's this, there's
Right.
that, there's sport, there's and they're using it all to be actors in it. It's disgusting. It's so disgusting.
It
You couldn't
is.
even make a film because when we've watched things like Space Odyssey, The Truman Family, or The Truman Show. Oh, what are you doing there, Robert? Um, We've got Arnie going to Mars, Total Recall. We've got all these films. We're living in all of it happening at the same time, except we're not in space.
Yeah, and part, what many people are unaware of is that it's all been programming, not just the what's called entertainment, and not just the news. It's all of it, including, like in this documentary, showing that the CIA was involved in procuring massive amounts of real estate to expand the Walt Disney empire.
But they're
And that
part of
was
it,
all.
aren't they? Because all the puppet Muppets are part of it. They all are. So we're being run by Muppet puppets.
Yeah, so Disney bought Fox, Bear bought Monsanto. I mean, the some of the names have changed, and it's been a
Yeah, and we
consolidation
don't go and
of
do our
power.
homework and look it all up to see what's happening. Because, like you say, once you find out, you go out and you think, oh, we've got McVitie's, we've got Bourbon, we've got Cadbury's. But you find out that Cadbury's probably owns Bourbon and McVitie's. We don't look it up. That these companies, there aren't that many companies that own all the companies.
Right. So when we look at an organization, let's take Facebook in particular. Mark Zuckerberg wasn't eating ramen noodles trying to figure out when he was going to college how he could amass the largest self-assembling data monitoring and control network in the world. That was a CIA operation, and he's an avatar, I believe, an avatar of sorts for the artificial intelligence. He's operating like he and Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, all of the major computer leading edge technology moguls are frontmen and women. There's women involved too. It's just people that are utilizing high powered technology to control the minds of men, women, and children, the minds of humanity.
Because in a sense, like talking to truthers, a lot of us, we stay on, we're making videos or we're doing our work, like you go down to the beach. I don't know if you're doing much of that now, taking pictures of the sun and the moon, but our lives are spent quite a lot in our homes. So making us stay in our homes is not it. It's just that thought of you can't. But I went up to London last weekend, so I've been a rebel. But it's that, many people who thought they could go out can't go out, and they were out there clapping, oh my goodness, on a Wednesday, where it is Thursday. And it's just that all of us are noticing that the hospitals aren't full of people at all, and all this military is moving around, or that's what they're showing us.
Yeah, and some of that could be, some of it may be vintage footage. I don't know. A big part of what has happened, from what I understand, is the contamination of our environment. The food, water, and air have high powered technology. Smart dust would be part of it. The nanoparticulate, whatever constituents they are, some of them are like a fungus, or like almost like a War of the Worlds kind of a thing. It's weird, but it affects our physiology.
Do you know what I think? I mean, I've got a video uploading right now. I put it out in January, and I'm talking about it today. I'm going to call it together. What is it? I forgot what the name of the. I've forgotten what the name of the thing is. It's good. It's good. Divided we stand. Whatever it is, whatever the thing is. It's going to show that NASA are into cognitive engineering, and they want to take over the world. They want to take over the flights. They want to take over local government. They want to take over the post. And it's almost as if we're being taken over right now. That's what I think.
Well, so yeah, yes, and NASA is simply a component of the military of the world. It's not just the United States. See that left-right paradigm takes on all different aspects in our division as humanity. Where there's the population of the world that's in we're in a theater of battle, not like a dinner theater. It's more like
It's awful
a
though, but it is.
battlefield.
We think that the enemy's out there and it's something out there, but actually we're the enemy.
Well, the enemy is amongst us. I mean, in our
I mean, the
midst.
enemy. What I mean is, they're telling us it's all out there and it's all happening. When really the only thing that happens is that we've surrendered and we've stayed in our homes while they're passing all these laws and that. So the only thing that they're moving is the people. And there's horrible stories, because years ago, in the Napoleonic times, people were going over to America and then they were quarantining them and taking their children. And that's part of this new bill which has been passed in the UK, that they can come in and get your kids.
Yeah, and that was one of the proclamations of the World Health Organization. I believe it was in the UK, talking about, we're going to be visiting your home and quarantining you, maybe quite possibly against your will, taking you or your children out of your
Considering
house.
it's something that only lasts a couple of weeks, why is there all this push for this, and they've closed the whole world down if it's only going to, okay, it'll last a bit longer than that because it'll have to go through the people. But like, for something that's got such a, it's not like, oh, it takes 6 months to come out, it lasts a year. We're talking of a short period of time. They've closed the world down on it.
So there's an electronic component that's driving it, not only in how it affects, humanity. By the way, you might hear some thunder in the background. We've got a massive storm and tornadoes on the ground.
Robert, we've got sunshine today.
Nice. We're supposed to have sunshine this afternoon, but we had a tornado, a big one, on the ground nearby here, and it moved through. But what I was going to say is, there's a component of the artificial intelligence that is controlling the perspective of humanity. And then there's another aspect of it that controls more details than just that, including the amount of electricity that's generated or withheld from humanity so we can have power outages that are created, but also
Hey, Robert,
power.
I knew that they
Pow,
would use it,
go
right?
ahead.
They basically got us all at home. Sorry, someone's trying to ring me. But they basically got us all at home. So that means we're all on the television or the computer. And really, although there've been a few like up and downs, a bit like air turbulence on the computer, the computer's lasted. I was wondering whether people not paying their bills and all that kind of thing would have meant that would have been the outage. It was actually individually, like I haven't paid my bill, they're going to turn me off, but they're going to use the fact that, everybody's at home and using their computers. But it lasted, it worked. I mean, I think it's better now than it was when half the people were at work.
Yeah, so I haven't been really affected much by this so-called quarantine, but that's in the area that I am. So to say that, yeah, there's no problem here would be an understatement. I want to tell you a little short story. I was up at about midnight and I was getting ready for the day, and I went to the Walmart at about 5:30 a.m. our time, and that was the senior shopping hour. I didn't know that. I couldn't get in until 7 o'clock a.m. So I was there for a few minutes, found that out, and I became dizzy and disoriented in the parking lot. And I left. I thought, well, I'm going to go home. And immediately I felt better. Like about 2 minutes after leaving, I felt better. Well, I went by there later on in the week, found out that they have new lights throughout the parking lot. They're an LED light that looks different than the ones that used to be there. A while back, I showed bucket trucks that were lined up at a Walmart. They've been implementing a lot of this 5G technology in the overhead lighting, street lights, parking lot lights. Well, the 5G actually has psychological effects on the brain, on the individual, as well as our physiology, so that they're apparently with documentaries that are on my channel, if you look at my research library on my channel, that the respiratory issues can be brought on and are caused by the millimeter wave technology, which reduces the ability for the hemoglobin to bond with oxygen and carry it throughout the body. So when they
They're
talked
probably
about
saying that the earth is running out of oxygen or something. But Robert, just as you said your channel there, do you want to repeat what your channel is?
yeah, the name of the channel is Truth, and the way to get there is to the most effective way to get there is to hashtag my name, actually, and that's what I've done, is made that available. Hey there. So I've got a sticker here, and I'm gonna flip it around. Let's see.
There's our lovely Robert.
Yay. Okay, so right here is let me see if I can show you like this. If you successfully hashtag my name or type in my phone number, that's how you'll find my channel. And it's interesting because the way that it's set up is that they make the truth really hard to find. And although it'll be presented to some, it's going to be restricted from others. That's just the way that they do it, so that those of us like me, one of the reasons why I'm into this right now is because I was curious. Things didn't add up. 9/11 didn't add up. Being able to run vehicles on water, if that really was true, why aren't we doing it now? Well, there's corporate greed, that's one thing, but it's overall wanting to control humanity, to reduce the amount of population in the world, and then to be left with healthy, compliant slaves, those that can endure the toxification of the environment. I've been bathing in drinking water for about a year and 4 months now, what that does is it draws the toxins out of the body. And then I put super healthy nutrients in my body, including the purified water, reverse osmosis, carbon filtered. And then I put it in the 5-gallon jugs that are polycarbonate because the recyclable plastics give off plastic molecules. So what I found out is, different things that caused me to think and to ask questions. When we were expecting our first son about 30 years ago at the Long Beach Medical Facility in California, our Lamaze teacher, that was Charlene at the Long Beach Medical, she was teaching us how to take care of our baby when we get him home. And she said, whatever you do, don't get the vaccines. And we said, why? And she said, well, because they'll hurt your baby. So we were anti-vaxxers for a long time, and that was a bit of an introduction to things are not quite as they should be. Now, around that time, my mother was struggling with cancer. She came out and visited us in California for our wedding a couple years earlier than that, and she passed away about 4 years later, which was about 27 years ago. And what she told me right before she died was, Bobby, if the cancer doesn't get you, the treatment will. What I found out is that there are systems in our world that intentionally cause cancer. And then when the treatment is offered, it extracts the money from the individuals and conscripts the whole family to a fear-based, well, we've got to have health insurance because what if we get cancer? Well, one of the last things I want to do is go to a hospital. If I've got something that needs to get patched up, I'm going to do it right away, maybe with some tape or a tourniquet or something, if something catastrophic happens. But even right now, they're restricting all non-emergency, what is called elective, only emergency services are offered. But even then, like my next door neighbor got taken away about a week ago and he died. He had comorbidity of respiratory issues, diabetes, and I'm a targeted individual. He's living next to somebody that is targeted electronically. You
Yeah.
can look it up. They call it gang stalking. I've got a video on my playlist that talks about it.
Maybe you'll be
So
safe
like when
right now, Robert, with all this stuff going on. Do you
well,
are you talking to people on the beach, or do you keep to yourself, just asking?
well, what would you think, Karen?
Oh,
If you,
you talk to everybody. You even got that man
yeah,
playing an instrument, didn't
yes,
you? You played his violin.
yeah. So I went out to the beach yesterday, the day before, the day before that. I've got friends that come on out there and they come on up and talk to me. I was talking with a group of surfers that I've known for years out there yesterday, and just waved at the law enforcement officer that drove by on the beach. They're not hassling us here, but it was a rather sparsely populated beach. And yet they'll feature a video of a police officer chasing after a jogger, and the jogger runs away. Good, cheerio, go. Run away,
Robert,
run
Robert,
faster.
your wife has quite different views to you, doesn't she? What does she make about what's going on? Oh, don't you know? Yeah, she's away, isn't she?
Well, she's far away. She's actually at the beach right now in a condo that's one of our commercial accounts, and she cleaned it and has stayed there for a few days. But the truth is too painful for her to look at, so she wants to live in make believe. She wants to live in a make believe world. It's not real. So I try
I'll
telling
tell
her, I
you what,
try telling
downstairs,
everybody I
Robert,
can.
Robert, downstairs, I've got a wand. Do you think it'll work?
A wand?
Yeah, I'm into fairies. Well, I was, and I've got lots of, because they've got wings and they can fly. My little
Oh my.
granddaughter played with them so much. Most of the fairies don't have wings on anymore. But I went to a fairy shop and I bought myself a little wand, and it's got fairy glitter in it. But do you think I should get it out right now and use it?
Well, give it a shot. Maybe that'll help. I don't know.
I'll go twing America, twing UK. I should go UK first, shouldn't I? Twing UK, twing the world. You're fine.
Well, there was a video that I featured. It's about 12 minutes long, and it's one of the most brilliant explanations of the control grid that we're in, and the way that toxic poisons are presented as cures for the illnesses that they've caused by the toxification of our
Can I
food,
just
water, and
interrupt you
air.
there? I just want to say one thing. Do you know what? Do you know why they're doing this? I think when you have medication, it has to go through these procedures before you can actually give it to the public, and they're not probably very good anyway because they lie, and the figures are never what they say they are. And there's a film called The Constant Gardener where they did that brilliant way of explaining about how they lie about medication.
Hmm.
So you've got that on one level, but when you get to vaccines, they get tested even less. So they don't. So basically, we're just the guinea pigs for something that's not been tested with. And what it is the reason they're changing it over to vaccines to get us all on a vaccine is that a lot of these drugs they've been using, the body doesn't like them or there's problems and whatever. But a vaccine, they can just give it to us without all this testing.
Well, and they do, and some of the chemicals that they're putting in the vaccines, they're putting in the geoengineering, in the chemtrails, as it's sometimes called. But
I
the cell.
think there's two things going on there actually, Robert, because once you understand about what the engines are, those things on the wings, those compressors. Once you understand they're just compressors and that's not the engine of the plane, those things are making clouds. Without them, I've had many, many more blue days of blue sky. It's just wonderful. Blue sky, we've got blue sky. But what it is those things are just making extra clouds and clogging everything up. But they seed everywhere. That's the bit I'm worried about, is when they're seeding and playing their games with harp and all that kind of stuff. Because when I looked up myself, when they're seeding, they can put it over a town and they can incite that town, and that town doesn't know why they're going, I want to kill you, and they can do things like this. That's
Well,
what
yeah,
worries me.
and so there's that, and HARP was like one aspect of weather modification and communications systems, and now there's a lot more going on with the NextRad radar. If you hashtag Weather
And not just
Wars
that,
101.
we're not so that things have gone quiet. Harp and CERN and what you just said, these things probably should be talked about more. They've gone quiet. Nothing's being said about them because of where we are.
Well, so
But those
so
things,
HARP is older technology. The newer technology that's more actively implemented is NextRad radar. You can look at the storm intensification, and the patterns of the storm cells are consistent with the NextRad radar installations. And then there's also the cell towers, and then there's also now a much increased distribution of the 5G. Now, here's one of the things with our enclosed cosmology. I've
yeah, because I
still,
don't think people understand. There's towers, and then, for instance, my boyfriend, he looks out of his balcony, and straight sort of down there in front of him are these things on the top of a building.
mhm.
He looks to the left, there's some on a building. There are even some on the top of his building. There's all the sub ones.
Yeah, so there's that. And then recently it became public that Elon Musk has been granted approval for the distribution of millions of stations that are broadcast stations or receivers or both. And with our enclosed cosmology, that takes away the what the science fiction of what most people understand as satellites. We've got the firmament up above the stationary and level Earth, and uh, they're beaming frequencies off of the dome. So that's off of the firmament, as best I can tell. Some may understand it as the
Yeah, I do.
Van
I do.
Allen
Listen, a lot
radiation
of people
belt,
might
or
not. A lot of people might not understand that through my research and when I've been talking to people, the firmament, whatever you want to call it, is a frequency. A frequency you can't get through. So it makes sense that they're using that because they're using it.
oh, absolutely. So that's part of where, like I was talking to a guy the other day, he said, well, you use a cell phone, that means we've got satellites. I said, no, and hell no. No, it just means you're brainwashed, is what it means. What we have are what they call satellites, but it doesn't mean we live on a globe.
Listen,
He
the way
was
that
using,
Tartaria was set up, or this piece of time that we don't know anything about, but we've got all the buildings and we've got bits of it. I
yeah,
think they had it all then. I just think we're using their technology a bit more buffed up, I suppose, or whatever you call it, patched up. I think we're using theirs because there's you and me talking to each other. We're frigging miles away from each other. I mean, thousands of miles.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
And we're talking to each other without any delay, thousands of miles away, not just 1 mile, thousands without any delay. Wherever they've had it for a long time. They've been using the technology that was already here. They just didn't tell us about it.
Yeah, and from what I understand, the majority of this communications between you and I right now would be fiber optic
Mm.
under the ocean,
And you know
submarine
something? I want
fiber
to
optic.
say, right, when I was married to Ellie's dad, he went to a course. So we're talking, Ellie was like a little girl, like 2 or 3. He told me that this course he went on, if he really wanted to understand fiber optics, would take him years because this stuff is so complex. But he'd gone for a course on it, but he needed many, 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 many more courses to understand it. Fiber optics is just, I think that's what they're adding. That's what I think it is. There's something they're doing with fiber optics.
Yeah, so that's a part of it. What they'll do is they'll present uh, the benefits of the communication system and present to us autonomous driving vehicles and the benefits of that. The downside to
It's really
that
crazy, Robert. I don't know
is
about
the
you, whether you look it up in your Facebook or not, but in
what's
my
that?
Facebook lately, well, in my Facebook lately came Tartaria. Also came that film of 1967 where they told us what they were going to do, that they were making the news in advance. And it was made in 1967, but that's exactly what they're doing to us today. Spanish flu turned up. Cognitive engineering by NASA turned up. It's like these things just turn up on my homepage and capture my eye. And before I've known, I've made a video about it and it's happening.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting how that all works out. Yeah, there's a lot going on with that. So what we're told is we're given benefits of technology like autonomous driving, vehicles. That's one of the reasons that the 5G is rolling out is because of the low latency. You need to have a system that is allowed to connect really uh, and be extremely responsive when you're dealing with driving decisions. So that's part of it. But then another part of it is there's autonomous weapons that go along with that. And by the way,
But the only thing that
four
seems
or
to
five
be in the middle of
thousand,
it all is the people.
what's that?
Because surely they could do a lot of stuff without telling us anything, because that's what they like. These people lie anyway. But if you were going to look at a plan and you were thinking, oh my God, this epidemic's coming, then they would do it differently. They just do it differently. What they're doing is it's an operation. It's an operation COVID-19. It's an operation.
Well, and the body's response to the millimeter wave technology is what is appearing as this virus, so-called. So there's technology that was installed in New York, which is supposedly a hot spot for deaths. Now, we really don't know how many deaths have actually occurred directly as a result of
Yeah, because every
this.
time someone goes to the hospital, there's nobody there.
Well, and as my next door neighbor passed away, he had a double aneurysm and stroke, and he had the pre-existing diabetes and COPD. However, he'll very likely have been attributed as a COVID-19 death because of those other occurrences. What we have heard and is documented on my research library, from the highest levels, they are attributing COVID-19 to cases that had other primary causes.
You know what's so annoying? Today, we will remember, and many people are aware this is going on. That's what it seems when I pick a video up, someone's talking about these things. But it's in our history. It's going to be put in our history as this thing took over. And in 100 years, they'll look back and they'll look at the pictures and they'll go, oh, look at those poor people. They were starving. Look, they had to queue for their food. This epidemic came. And none of it's true. So they're making a lying history. They're making the history by being operation-like out there. It's just so disgusting. It's just,
Well, yeah, and we have what I would encourage everybody to do. What a practical response would be. Well, you can get what you can at the stores or wherever you can get it, if it's a local farm market or a store, because the supply chains are going down. We have I've got video of millions of pounds of food being disposed of in the farm fields because the supply chains and the network of distribution are failing because of logistics and transportation issues, and the just the way that they're doing things. All of this, there are very real aspects of this, including the deaths of
Robert, can I say
individuals.
something?
Sure.
Robert, what it was is that, you know, at night time when they film the roads and things like that, they're cutting off all the cameras because the lorries are travelling and are dropping the food off. They don't want us to realise that the things like food, that's all working.
Well, some of it is.
You can't buy it because I put a video out yesterday. This guy went into the shop and he had tape all around it. You can't buy seeds, you can't buy boats, you can't buy car seats. You know, everybody's just really upset because everybody can see our rights have been taken away. We've got no rights. When we get here, it's a bit late. We can't even complain because we don't have any rights right now.
Well, there's largely what would be viewed as martial law. We really
Yeah,
don't
but they're doing all
have
these things to us. We haven't got any rights now. We surrendered immediately.
Well, I haven't. I'm not. I haven't surrendered anything. I don't consent to their tyranny. What I did more recently today, I put up the in my research library. I added some of the videos that I'm in with millions of views, and then I copied and pasted my playlist, including that, to these channels, as well as my phone number and a hashtag of my name. If they want to reach out to me, that's fine. They can look at my playlist. What has been a really interesting thing is finding out that the truth is really not based on popular opinion. It's not popular and it's not an opinion. It's just the reality of the situation. So much of humanity's response to what's going on is based on a lie, and they don't know it. And so I meet some people that want to know the truth, and they're very engaging. I get calls from all over the world at any given time of the day or night. That's one of the reasons why I have somewhat of an irregular schedule is because I'm dealing with all the time zones, and I'm a reachable, approachable person. I put my phone number out there because I know personally of the alienation that's going on. And although in some respects, yes, they've closed down a lot of public gatherings like churches, educational facilities, a lot of corporate gatherings, and people, I believe, are searching. Now, in their searching, some of them may tend to go towards the corporate media. Unfortunate if they do, but that may be the case. And if they go on the internet, then that is largely controlled by the same artificial intelligence that's controlling the dissemination of so much of the information. I believe the reason why they took everybody's liked videos playlists and made them private is for the
Well,
very reason why they did it. For me in particular, for over 2 years, I've been encouraging people
but
to like.
Robert,
I just want to finish one cohesive thought here. For about 2 years, I had been encouraging people to like videos, make their like videos playlist publicly viewable, and share that link with everybody that they can. The reason for that is it circumvents the algorithms of the artificial intelligence to a certain extent. Go ahead, Karen.
well, my point was on that other bit you were talking about is they don't want us talking to each other. They've made having a hangout almost impossible. Yes, you can go live, but that's on your own. You've got to record it otherwise and upload it. It's different. It's uploaded straight onto the channel itself, but now you have to record it, put it on. So they didn't want us talking. They changed all the laws to make sure that it was almost impossible for you to do what you did before, and they were obviously hoping right now that nobody would say anything or do anything because of the laws. I mean, look at it. You go there, it's got that article of child abuse on there. Now you can't mention, COVID-19. You can't mention. Every time I say live vision or the real word, they block that off. Like, it's so totally censored.
Right. Well, when you said they don't want us talking to one another, I would say
They
that
don't want to show each other. They don't want anybody seeing anything. And who's running it? Google. Google owns YouTube.
Well, so I would disagree that they don't want us talking to each other. They do, and they monitor it all. They want to see.
Yeah, and then they can turn around and say, all right, we're pulling that video, or we're giving you a strike. That's what they do instead. And
Now,
it's almost impossible to sort it out, because once they've taken the information away from you, it's much more difficult. And they never answer you anyway. No matter what I say to them, they never say, okay, you're right.
okay,
It's
so
always,
this
you're
is
wrong,
something.
you're wrong, you're wrong.
Well, this is something that I believe is going to be very important to consider, is that we're in somewhat of not only a physiological quarantine. I've been talking about the digital quarantine for years. In other words, there are people that have core beliefs, and then they reject things and people that have opposing core beliefs, so that we are in our little group of sharing the truth with one another, or what we believe the truth is. Where I'm a bit of an outcast is that I'll even show the official SpaceX launches, hoping that people will see how fake it actually is compared to the other real footage of.
Yes, I understand exactly what you're saying, because I've got a video uploading and Richie from Boston put it out. And you've
Yeah.
got Trump saying these terrible, terrible times that we're in, and
Yeah.
big black,
Oh,
and
yeah.
all he's showing is military equipment moving in the background. So the terrible, terrible problem is that they're doing all this stuff, putting all this military in place right beside us, and we're doing nothing.
Well, when
They
we.
talked for years about Russia and how they treated those people, but they're doing it to us. They've always done it to us. Whatever they said they were doing to them, they were doing to us. We just thought they were doing it to them.
So I don't see it as we're doing nothing. I mean, maybe a lot of other people aren't doing much. I'm doing as much as I can.
There's more people today who know that things are wrong, and no matter whether you believe
Oh,
in a
yeah.
government and what you're living on, and it goes as far as that, or you just don't like the news, whatever it is, many people know there's something wrong. And I just find it absolutely incredible that, like I said, I've said it before, about say 8 weeks ago, you had to wait 4 hours for a doctor to see you in casualty, and now there's nobody at the hospitals. Like, we must have just been hypochondriacs.
Well, there's a lot going on with that.
I know that it would change a bit, because some people aren't working, people are at home, there might not be so many accidents, etc. Like, so it would go down. But I wasn't expecting when people pan their cameras around that there's nobody there at all.
Yeah,
So,
and another thing.
Robert, we've been going for about 40 minutes now. I just wondered, like, with the
Sure.
last, like, 10 minutes or so,
Okay.
you do the roundup. Reporter Robert Foertsch.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. What I would encourage everybody to do is to seek the truth with all your heart, to seek to find out what's really going on, what's actually happening, not necessarily what you want to be believing, but is what you believe actually true. By definition, what we believe, we actually believe to be true. So if a person were deceived, how would they know it? How would they get out of it? In that, therein lies the challenge. It's almost like impossible to break out of it, humanly speaking. I believe what happened with me is God, the creator of this world, gave me a desire to know the truth. And I've been interested in that for most of my life. And what's happened was I found out that there are people that have massive amounts of the truth of the situation that's actually going on in the world, and they may have a couple of things wrong. I'll share their content anyway on my channel. So just because I disagree with them on this or that issue, I'll still feature them on my channel. And I'll encourage everybody to reach out and call if they like, if they've got questions,
Robert, in
to call
this
me.
place today, there aren't many gentlemen, but you definitely are one of them.
Oh, Karen, you're so kind.
Oh no,
Well,
Robert and I have known each other for a very long time. I became very interested in what Robert was doing, and I've used over the time many of your videos. We've
thank
had
you.
many hangouts where you've taken us to the beach. You even on one of your videos took us into the hurricane that you had there last year. Robert,
Yeah.
you're such a great man. For a long time, you've been telling us all about, well, not just about what we're putting in our bodies, but also all the other things, the mechanical things, the internet, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, do you think we're in a different time right now, or are you
Well,
worried? Are you
yeah,
happy? Do you see a
well,
better future, a worse future?
well, it's all largely based on perspective. My hope is in
That was
my
what your
God.
channel was called, Rick. That was what
Yeah,
your channel was called.
yeah,
Robert's
previously,
channel was called Perspective. And
actually
yeah.
eternal perspective, and it was based on looking beyond the here and now, and what about eternity? Where will you spend eternity, and why? And that, I believe, is one of the most important questions anybody
You know,
can
there's something
consider.
else we've forgotten to say. I think the reason that you can say what you do is that you know who you are as a person. And if everybody just stopped in this time where they've been forced to have, holidays, and we'll call it a holiday, a break, whatever, that people got in touch with themselves and learned who they are as people, we might, as a people, come out of this better once you know who you
Oh,
are.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I wouldn't trade all the money in the world for what I actually have. The the peace that I have that passes all understanding. Yes, we are actually in unprecedented times. And I believe we're looking at the consummation of all things as we know it, the end of days, so to speak. So I'm the digital version of the man ringing the bell saying the end is near. And because of my uh, I've had favor with being heard by, right now, as best I can tell, about 40 million times people have heard me. Elon Musk knows
Yes, you
who
get
I am.
used, don't you, Rob?
The president of the United States, all these people that are making fun of flat earthers, if they don't know who I am, they're not paying attention, because I've been
Oh,
very
I just said who you are. You're a lovely gentleman.
well. My
Robert is one of
passion
the
is to know the
kindest, most
truth and to
patient
make it.
people ever.
What's that?
Kindest and patient. You're one of the
Oh, thank you.
kindest and patient. And Robert's another person that will go out there and he just spreads the truth. And I love him much. Robert, we've been going for 45 minutes now. I hate that.
And
It
you've
sounds
got
like
to
I'm,
go to another hangout,
I've got
don't
to go
you?
to another hangout.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be on with you, Karen. Thank you all so much for your time here, and I've got some wonderful friends that I've met through you as well. We have
Oh.
friends all over the world.
The reason that we're chatting as well is I want people to realise that, you know, I talk to many people and none of us actually really know what's going on. So you can watch all the posts you like, but Unscrambled channel, we talk and nobody really knows what's going on except maybe we've been bought.
Well, they're up to something, and it isn't good. They're
No.
lying. They're lying, and I ain't buying. That's for sure.
Uh,
The truth absolutely exposes the deception.
and Robert, what else? They don't know that they don't know.
They don't want to know that they don't know. They just want to believe what they want to believe. Isn't that special? I
Oh,
just want to know the truth. I'm sure many of us do. So
Robert, it's
thank you
been
so
an
much for having
absolute
me on,
pleasure.
Karen.
Thank you so much, darling. We'll say goodbye off air, but anyway, to Robert and the chat room.
All righty. Thank you.